All right. Thank you, Jamal. Welcome back, everyone, to the Vaccine Equity Coalition in March. This one is going to be a few updates and then an open forum. We have a second survey that we have committed to our funders, and kind of curious what everybody wants to know when in the state that we're in, where we're seeing a drop in cases, at least here in the United States, as some of you are hearing as we were getting started. That's not the case in England and other parts of Europe with a scary new variant. But in the back of your minds, what do you want to know? What do you want to know from the people that we serve? First, I wanted to just call out GRM. Obviously, what is happening in Ukraine. I myself am from Poland, which is now home to about 1.5 million refugees from Ukraine, probably expecting to get to 4 million. And I just wanted to call attention to their work. A lot of people have asked me, I've been to the Ukraine myself and terrified what's happening there. What would I support? I would support GRM simply because for direct humanitarian aid, you're looking at UNICEF, Red Cross. Most of those donations will be put aside for future funding. They're not going to go directly to Ukraine. GRM is a partner of the Vaccine Equity Coalition. I don't know if Danielle is on the call. Danielle, are you there? But if anybody is interested, Jamal, if you could just share the link. If you do hear of people that want to support direct humanitarian efforts in Ukraine, GRM is there on the front lines. Similar, obviously, the work they do with us on the Vaccine Equity Coalition on the border. But if somebody asks, how would you support Ukraine? This is where I'd put them to. Because these donations are going to go far, and GRM is legit from all the amazing support they've given this coalition, especially when it comes to clarifying testing. So updates overall for the Vaccine Equity Coalition. The second round of Twilio.org funding has now been distributed. If anyone has not received that, please stay on at the end of the call. We'll figure out what may have occurred. Not every organization was eligible for the second round of funding. Some people joined the coalition later. Some people had smaller amounts, so it was paid up all up front. The grant agreements, I think there were about 15 organizations that should have received this funding, which was sent last week. We have now met with all of our funders, and they are all very, very pleased and proud of everything this coalition has been able to accomplish. Signals are from those funders that they will most likely not do another round this year, which is a general sense I've been getting talking to other funders and speaking with you guys as well, that as cases are going down, there's a sense of fatigue. That being said, what we're seeing in Europe with a new variant, where for those of you who weren't part of that initial discussion, cases and hospitalizations are increasing at the same rate. So things may change. We're not out of the woods yet. And the main line that we're using for new funding opportunities, which are still in play, we have still a very good odds of securing funding, at least for our California-based organizations with a California-based foundation, and a few other leads as well that we're still having discussions. And the overall picture that we're presenting is, as safeguards go down, marginalized communities' risk of getting infected is going up. At the same time, we know in California, and this data is probably applicable across the United States, only 37% of the people that we serve in this coalition have gotten their third booster, and the CDC is already recommending the fourth one for certain populations. So there is still a fundraising effort going on. For California-based organizations on this call, I would say there's a 75% chance of an additional boost of funding. And then there are still others that we're pursuing for those that aren't based in California. But most of this coalition, it being born out of SURF, are funded by California-based organizations. So we're doing our best to make sure we can support on a national level. On that, we may be featured in a National Geographic article. This is breaking news as of this morning. So many of you may know Darney. Darney is, or was at one point, the president of GSER. She was instrumental in the California Immigrant Resilience Fund, which is in a certain sense the mother of the Vaccine Equity Coalition. That brought many California-based organizations to distribute direct cash aid. And they were seeking to learn more about how SURF and the Vaccine Equity Coalition were interplaying, looking at marginalized immigrants' access to healthcare benefits and how they're dealing with the pandemic. I'm just going to take an initial exploratory call. I'd love to feature a partner or two on it as well, but I have no idea what it will be about. But it was an exciting, at least to me, it shows the word is getting out there. And that reference to that article about the Vaccine Equity Coalition came from the Tides Foundation. So we should be feeling very, very proud of what we've accomplished. Not only do we know our impact, the word of our impact is getting out there. And then one final note, and I'll pause for questions because then it'll be open forum on the survey. We record these sessions. We know people's schedules get busy and hectic, but we're going to move our YouTube channel. So most of you may know this. Jamal has been working on this for quite a while. We have these Charlas videos. Charlas are info videos for immigration justice. They're made by vetted immigration attorneys. Some of our partners that are on this call help us record these. There's actually one that was just loaded this week about TPS for Ukrainians. There'll be a second part about visas and consular services for Ukrainians. Anyway, we were getting mixed up because as we got more and more info videos, our training videos were sometimes getting in the way. Charlas was always meant to be a communal coalition-wide effort of immigration experts helping with immigration law. So all of our old playlists, including the recording of this video, will now go to a new channel, which is just Mobile Pathways. This will be rebranded just as Charlas. So you'll get the link. You'll be able to find the playlist. I just wanted to call out that the videos will be in a new place going forward. Those are all the updates. Next on the agenda is the survey. So are there any questions in the chat about any of these topics? All right, survey number 2. So part of the funding agreement was that we would do 2 surveys of the population. And I wanted to give a refresher on how we did the first one, and then just make it an open forum and start thinking, and I am going to start calling if we get that awkward silence, what do we want to know? About 3 months ago, we developed this survey, which many organizations, ICDC did it on site. I believe, was it IMSCHools? I can't remember who was the ones texting it versus doing it on site, but we made it mobile friendly so it could be texted. Obviously, if people are getting an on-site vaccination, they have 15 minutes. And the purpose of that survey is, since they had been, the individuals we're serving had received repeated interactions, whether it was a text, a social media, a webinar, an in-person, a phone call if you're a detained inmate. Do you find the vaccine safe and effective? You can see the questions there. And we had an amazing success out of that. So 93% got the vaccine, 10%, 1 in 10 felt it was unsafe, and 99%, felt safe being unvaccinated, where 99% thought the vaccine was vaccinated. That definitely caught the eye. I had a call with one of our funders yesterday, and they're like, that's amazing, that 99%. She was the data person. She was actually statistically concerned that that number was so high, but fortunately she knows Melody, who conducted the survey or finalized the survey questions, but thanks to the help of these organizations. So that was the background. The background was we had a random sample of about 500 respondents across these organizations, and thank you for everyone for helping get that out. We are looking to do the next one. It will probably take us about till the next call, till the questions are finalized and we think through like who will take the responses. So now comes the open forum part. What do we want to know?
Well, Bart, the first thing that occurs to me is that we still have a population that are not being able to get vaccinated, and those are the children younger than 5. And I know that we have received, questions from parents. Some of them are super worried about when is it they're going to get access to it. Because the reality is that they're still very vulnerable. So
yes. There was a couple of sample ones. Jamal and I were chatting about this right before the call, of like asking ourselves, like, what would we want to know? Pediatrics is a big one because the 2-year-old was, I don't know if anybody knows better, it was delayed. It should have been here by now, meaning the 2 and 5 and under. Does anyone know if that's imminent at this point? I think it was Pfizer had questionable data, whether they were very young children was applicable. Anyway,
But
that's a great
the
question.
last time that I saw something was probably a month ago when they were saying that, you know, they were almost ready and then silence. So I haven't seen anything lately.
But it's a
You're
great
right. Yeah,
Go ahead.
likewise. I think I've been following that too, and it's been complete silence either also, because I heard that it was going to come out like end of March, early April, but there's been silence on that.
So, well, two questions there, because let's be mindful, this is going to be 4 weeks till probably somebody fills out the first survey, if we move quickly. Well, if we move quickly, it could probably be 3 weeks. But anyway, point being is it might be 3 weeks from now. But the one thing, and we're not going to wordsmith this here. We'll do another pass. We'll send it as we did. It's what we did last time. We did a brainstorming like this. Melody took point to actually write the questions because she has a deep background in impact, and the way you phrase something, it's very important. Plus, that has to be then translated. I think we translated into 5 languages. So let's just get the ideas here, but not wordsmith it. That said, do you feel your children are safe getting the vaccine? And I heard a second thing from Indira, which is, can your children get access to the vaccine? I heard that correctly, Indira, right? Those are like 2 different questions. Okay. Question, sorry, that I saw, which is good, from Vendaya, are these yes, no questions? Not necessarily. Actually, I need to remember, it was all yes, no last time. It doesn't necessarily have to be. We are slightly reticent for those 0 to 1 scales. Like, you know, do you feel safe on a scale of 1 to 10? That we try to avoid. But it doesn't have to be yes or no. One other aspect to consider, we could ask some of the same questions to do a delta comparison. The only problem with that is it's not probably going to go to the same people. Karen, do you feel it's important to get your booster? That's a good one. That's a really good one. One of the things we're showing in the last 2 weeks when we met with this family foundation was, in California, only 37% of the Latinx population have gotten a booster, a 3rd booster. And we're already talking in certain countries like Israel, 4th booster is already required. So that's a great question. And I do appreciate the honesty, Janice, of I don't know. I've been thinking about this for a while too. Do you feel safe? So this question, this was mine, as we were just, Jamal and I were going back and forth. Do you guys feel safe? Like my daughter's school 2 weeks ago went mask free, and now she's homesick and a 1/3 of her class is homesick, just with colds. We tested her, she's fine. But do you guys feel safe with our IRL experiences?
I can answer from my organization. We, you know, all the schools in our Napa County made the mask optional, right, as of Monday. And we got a big pushback from our staff members who say we have tons of people walking through our doors every day, and we are not safe. We are not feeling sure that this is the right time. Especially right now that we are in the middle of the tax clinics, and you know, a lot of people comes through our doors. So we push that. Now we're still requiring masking, and we're still wearing our mask as employees until we're waiting until after April 18, after the tax season ends. And yeah, to answer your question, we're not feeling safe yet. We're still very cautious.
Thank you. That actually brought up another question. Actually, I'd be curious to know is, are you wearing a mask in the workplace? And it might not just be the workplace, but it could be, I'll just put this out, a mask. I mean, it could just be very open-ended.
Or in
When you
public
go outside.
places.
Say again?
Let's say public places rather than workplace.
Yes, thank you. Again, we don't want to wordsmith too much, but that's exactly the right sentence. And I guess if you have any others, please in the chat, Edwin or is she here? Regarding our detained population.
Sorry, Brett, this is April. What was your question?
Oh, there's April. April, sorry, I thought I saw Edwin as well.
Yeah, we're both here.
It's going to be impossible.
I'm also here.
Oh, great, perfect. So the survey last time didn't include anyone from our detained population because of the difficulties of even just asking questions. Do you see any way that could be different this time? And if so, meaning that we could actually survey some of the people you work with directly, what would you want to know from a detained inmate's perspective or a detained community member's perspective?
Thanks for that question. Yeah, I was thinking, which of these applies to the folks we work with? I suppose we already are asking them, not in a strict survey question or format, but not only if they're wearing masks, but if the guards are wearing masks, so things like that. But I don't know, I realize the population is quite distinct. So I don't know how you would want to incorporate or not same questions. They're so different. So I mean, I ask those questions, but more just as I have each individual conversation.
Right, they're more anecdotal. And it might be something we take offline in that regard of we can actually have an actual survey, people chip in to be able to send it or get responses. And then we can just have a conversation we can between you and I and Melody on the call, and then see, what are we anecdotally learning? So then we have the survey results and then like an additional paragraph about both CCIJ and Freedom for Immigrants work. We can just have a conjoint call just to say, this is anecdotal evidence given the difficulties of actually surveying inmates. That's kind of what I'm leaning to right now. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Hey, Bart, this is Edwin. I just want to make a quick language suggestion on the presentation, as well as just like as we are talking about folks that are in detention. We want to make sure we humanize individuals who are currently incarcerated. So we do like to recommend, as well as other partners, to stay away from using the word inmate or any type of label that may dehumanize them. So we really want to encourage folks to center people's humanity, so we can say a person detained, right? An individual in immigration detention, folks in detention. We really want to make sure, or persons detained. Yeah, definitely. So, and we also, sometimes it's maybe difficult, but, we also are staying away from the word detainee as well. The E's make it look cute, but it's still an equivalent to inmate. So definitely just want to make that suggestion. But I do think that we should get on a phone call with FFI and other partners to talk about it anecdotally, especially because we're still working on ensuring mRNA booster access in all the facilities, or booster access in general, because some facilities in the state of California do not provide boosters. So we want to make sure that we're still working on ensuring that there's an efficient process at all of the facilities across the state.
First of all, thank you just for mentioning that. And I think whether it's for the community of persons detained or just any of the cultural ethnicity backgrounds, if anybody hears anyone, always chime in. And thank you, Edwin, for bringing that up in terms of making sure our language reflects the humanity that we seek to support.
Hi, Bart. I had
Mhm.
an input about how these questions are being posed as yes or no, because I feel like some of those answers are not as clear cut. So the data that we're getting back might not be as accurate as it could be. And I was thinking if we had multiple choice, for example, when you say, are you wearing a mask in the workplace? Well, it depends. If I'm alone in a room, I'm not wearing a mask. If I go outside, I'm not wearing a mask. But if I go to our clinic and I'm outside, I'm wearing a mask because there's all these people out there, right? So it really depends. So like when I sit at my desk, I'm alone in the room and no one's there, I won't wear a mask. But when I go into our communal space, I'll put a mask on. So it feels like, yes or no, for some of these like public places, right? So if I go to a park and no one's near me at all, I'm not wearing a mask, right? But if I go into a supermarket, I'm wearing a mask, so I don't know how you might want to make those kinds of distinctions, but I feel like it still does have a connection to social distancing.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I can't remember, and I remember you helped with the original survey in terms of the final wording, because there's once we had all these ideas, it took a long time to be able to, get the specific wording. I can't remember why every single one was yes, no. My hazy recollection is we wanted the simplicity, since we knew we were going to do 2 surveys and we needed to test out the process of doing this across multiple members of the coalition. But there's no reason we need to stick to that historical precedent of yes or no.
And when you draft the questions, I'll be happy to look at them for feedback again if you want to use that process.
Yeah, and if anybody else wants to volunteer, please do chat, say, yes, I'd like to chime in. And please, hopefully we get 5. So I don't remember, last time we had about 5 organizations chime in so we could share, just to be able to make sure that there's no such, a leading question, or as Edwin correctly noted, to humanize the population that we're serving, and not use anything that might be perceived as with malintent, just based on the language in and of itself. Regarding the translations, we are happy to translate into any language, but we don't have every language on staff. So the onus does go to the organization. If you'd like to survey your organization, just like using Panita as an example, they translated it into Thai. I think in the last survey, we did have 5 languages offered, but the form itself, which is mobile friendly, can be texted, can be done on site, iPad, computer, however you'd like, can be translated in any language. We just don't have the capacity, nor we don't want to use Google Translate either. That's a really bad idea for surveys. And we are almost at time. Any other thoughts? I like April's question. I'm going to put that one in there. That's a deep question right there. So the question, I'll put it up there and then everyone can kind of think about it, is social distancing possible on a consistent basis? I don't think so. But we're going to be forever changed by this. I mean, there's no chance, right? We're going to go back to the way things were before this. It's the social distancing part. That's going to be a unique one. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your efforts. Anything else we can do to help, please let us know. If you have, the French have a great phrase for this, the spirit of the staircase. When you're walking down the stairs, like, that's what I should have said. If you have one about the survey, we still have 3 weeks. So if you think of something while you're walking down the proverbial staircase, just send me and Jamal a note. Please do volunteer for reviewing the survey, because the more people that help and get that correct, the better. Thank you guys. Stay strong, be well. And thank you again for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.